At the closing news conference of the Premier's meeting, Danielle Smith was asked about conversations she's had with David Eby about getting an oil pipeline to BC's coast, and she made a point of stressing how the two provinces are working together on other projects, getting ammonia by rail to the Port of Prince Rupert's, LNG expansion, and electricity intertie, and the expansion of the capacity of the Trans Mountain pipeline, wrapping it all up with this.
I would say that our priority is to work on those first four projects that I mentioned. And then if we can get to a point where we have a proponent and are able to start on that, then we will.
Our priority is those first four projects. And then if we have a proponent, you heard her say, for a pipeline, then we'll start on that. Erika, do you think Smith is lowering expectations that we will see a proponent come forward?
I think she's just being realistic. I mean, this comes right after the Prime Minister met with some Northern Indigenous groups and got a lot of pushback. So I think she's trying to temper expectations. Both her and Eby said that they agree with more than they disagree. And so I think she's setting priorities, showing and talking about the case for this Northern corridor. And again, coming back to it's likely, well, I'd like to think it's a when, but again, I think it's more of a tempering expectations just because she'd look really out of touch if she talked about the when the Prime Minister has just got a lot of pushback from one of the key stakeholders.
Well, I mean, it is a far cry from what she was saying a month ago, right? When she was talking about a proponent coming forward within a matter of weeks. We haven't seen that. And now she's talking about other priorities, which I think a lot of Albertans would be surprised to hear are ahead of a pipeline. Jessie, do you think the Premier is lowering expectations?
I think she's lowering expectations, but what we're seeing here in this shift in tone around proponent for a pipeline is part of a larger shift in tone and messaging that I think we're seeing from the Premier and the UCB government. I think it's connected to political realities. I think it's them becoming alive to the fact that Albertans are expecting sound governance, delivering for Albertans right now and working with whether it's other levels of government, other premiers in other provinces. And I think that's in large part connected to the fact that they're seeing that there's a political threat within the province with Naheed Nenshi leading the Alberta NDP and the difference in tone and track record he has of working with others, whether it's across different levels of government or across the aisle, regardless of political stripe.
Jessie takes it partisan. Erika, I know you want to reply to that.
I was going to say I almost cracked a laugh when he talked about Naheed Nenshi being quite the opponent. I would say I think, last time I was in Stampede gear, Rob, on the show right before, and then we went into what had appeared as probably the most diplomatic and cross-partisan collaboration we've seen from everyone from the premiers to the Prime Minister. And I think that's where the Premier's taking her, I agree with Jessie, a tone shift, but I don't think it has anything to do with Naheed Nenshi, because I can tell you that's not even what members of the NDP that are my friends are saying. I think it continues to be Naheed Nenshi needs to step up as opposed to him being a fierce opponent, and even polls are saying that as well.
Okay, let's stay with the Premier because she is the one who is pushing for this new pipeline. At that same news conference, the concluding one, Smith also made a point of saying her support of the Pathways carbon capture project was a way to demonstrate that Alberta has listened to some of the concerns BC has raised. So let's assume that the tonal shift here is more strategic diplomacy than, lowering expectations for Albertans. Jessie, are you seeing any signs from David Eby that the strategy is working, because he continues to say he's opposed to lifting that tanker ban on the North Coast?
I think that all premiers are playing off the same playbook right now. I think that there is a level of cooperation across all the provinces with respect to working with the federal government. And I think that the change in tone can't hurt. I think what we've seen from the Premier is a type of governance that has caused more chaos and uncertainty. And
okay, hang on. I'm not talking about Smith. I'm asking about David Eby. Do you think he will bend on this issue?
I think there'll be significant flexibility on his part now relative to where he was 6 months ago. I think that the realities that we're facing in the country and across all provinces are ones that have changed significantly. And so getting natural resources to markets is a critical priority for this prime minister. And I think it's a critical priority for all governments. So I think that we can expect some significant flexibility from Premier Eby.
All right, we'll see on that front. In the time we have left, I want your thoughts on the latest developments with the two former UCP MLAs who made news a couple of weeks ago, saying they were going to launch a new party under the old name of the Progressive Conservative Association of Alberta. The Premier argued that shouldn't be allowed because the PCs had merged with the Wild Rose to form the UCP. So now Peter Guthrie and Scott Sinclair are joining what's left of the Alberta Party in hopes of renaming it the Progressive Conservative Party, because apparently rules allow an existing party to be renamed. Erika, you're the former president of the UCP and PC party. What should we make of this development?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm starting off with last time I was on show, because I think this is right when the PC launch happened with Scott Sinclair and Pete Guthrie. And you and I had a conversation about questioning why Elections Alberta even allowed this to go forward. Now we've seen a cease and desist by the UCP because of the confusion it would cause voters having similar names, which is some of the legislation that was changed under Premier Kenney. So I actually think that this was more strategic. I was surprised that these guys didn't do the Alberta Party from the outset. So if they're going full circle to do what Erika Barootes would have done from the get-go, I'm more than happy to see that. I don't understand what they were doing before. And you had challenged the other guest, Sabrina Grover, on, is this a bad brand? I think the Alberta Party has actually more opportunity to show that middle ground than I think maybe some of the past people have with the PC government.
Okay,
so
interesting
I'm
point.
not surprised they're here. I just think it took too long for them to even realize it.
Jessie, what do you think? Is the Alberta Party a better brand cutting into the UCP vote, or the PC Party?
I think the PC party, I think that what a lot of traditional conservatives are seeing with respect to this premier and the way this government is operating is not one that they would associate with previous PC governments in the province. So I would say that the PC brand would have some brand nostalgia associated with it and would be more problematic to the UCP than the Alberta Party.
We will see on that one. Look at you two. You brought me straight to time, which is perfect. Jessie, Erika, great conversation. Thank you for this.